Hi everyone. Today's video is definitely not an official garden tour, more of a garden walkabout in February here at Olive City Homestead. I'm just taking a little break and I thought I'd take you along with me. We can get so busy that sometimes we forget to appreciate what we have in our gardens right now. We are always thinking of the future and the next season, and especially in spring, I know I find that I'm, thinking ahead. What seeds am I going to plant? Where am I going to put them? What am I going to grow this year? But there's a lot going on right now, and even if you're in a climate where it's colder still here in February, I am sure there is some beauty going on. I don't have snow. I don't have all the beauty that brings, and the cold climates, well, you do. There's something to be appreciated everywhere that you live. And maybe you live where it's actually quite hot right now, so you've got a whole different experience going on with nature. But I just like to remind myself regularly that I can enjoy my garden right now. So I wanted to just remind you of that too. Enjoy your garden now. So nice and warm. Probably about 63 right now Fahrenheit on a bright afternoon here in Northern California. You know, I always say Zone 9B, but lately a lot of the places I've gone to order things from, a lot of the online nurseries, they have you enter your zip code, and they've been throwing back at me that I'm Zone 9A. It's kind of frustrating and also amusing. I really am on the border. You can go half a mile down the road and the zone might change. Half of the books and websites say I'm Zone 9B, and half of them say I'm Zone 9A. Because really that's all based on how cold does it get in the winter, and some winters it gets colder than other winters. So yeah. And the garden does have spots of color like those orange gazanias over there and the crimson osteospermum down at the bottom of that row. And there's green stuff. I can see society garlic and lots of walking onions. Here there is a ton of globe artichoke coming back up as it does every year. This bed is probably at least 4 years old now. And the artichokes have come back fresh and healthy and very productive every year. It is really nice because they're just the first thing going. But it's a super hardy plant and it apparently loves this location. That's the thing about gardening is, in the beginning and even maybe throughout the whole time you're doing it, pretty much it's hit or miss in the sense that you just try things out. And I tried artichoke a couple other places and they did okay, but it was only when I tried this bed that they just took off. Here I've got onion that is leftover onion. That's why it's kind of sparse, because I actually harvested a ton of onion from here late spring, early summer. And this stuff was nowhere to be seen at that time. This stuff only emerged in the fall. And it's grown strong since then, and so now I have a second round to harvest. Pretty cool. Oh look, here's some more color. And some more leftover onion. Oh, isn't that pretty? I don't know if you can see the color. It's a mixture of white tinged with lavender pink. I don't really know how to explain it, but it sure is pretty. This is osteospermum. I have all kinds of colors of this around the property. And it's super hardy here and is blooming very prettily. It actually blooms all winter, but it's really coming into its own now. Lime tree is starting to green up again. It doesn't really appreciate the 20s Fahrenheit temps the way the osteospermum does. But it survives. And this little plant here with its own little leaf, that's a loquat. It actually has lots of little leaves coming out on it. That's a loquat tree that someone gave me after it was pretty much just a stick. They thought it was dead, and I thought, well, I'll give it a chance. And look at this. It's survived the winter and is now going to leaf out. Very cool. You know what that is? That's a delicacy. That is dried jalapeno peppers. Do you know how much you pay for that in the store? A lot. And I've just got them everywhere. naturally dried, organically dried. And here's all my volunteer borage coming up everywhere. Those flowers are just so pretty. And the leaves, the young ones, before they get the little spines, they're so tender and delicious. The flowers are edible too. And borage, well, it's a great herb, very nutritious. And it clearly spreads like crazy. Like, I've got hundreds of plants here. I could try to dig up and transplant. Probably 10 or 20% of them would transplant well if I'm super careful. They have such a deep taproot. They're hard to transplant once they've gotten themselves pretty well established. So it's best to get them when they're really young. Green sorrel's looking good. More walking onions. And the winter savory looks good too. I just got some summer savory seeds. I'm curious to see the difference in taste. They look the same, but maybe they'll taste different. Oregano, sending out tons of new growth at the bottom. The thyme is sending out lots of new growth too. So I have dozens of little rose bushes that I just stuck these basically cuttings or half bushes, as this one was, in pots and in the ground because I was digging up roses and moving them, and I always would find a few weeks later that some of the roots underground had regrown. So it is from rootstock, but I've had some flower already and they're very pretty. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the ones I've done recently bloom this spring and seeing how they look. And I don't give them any special care at all. It's just like they're either going in the compost pile or I'm going to give them a chance to grow. So I stick them in a pot and I leave them there. And I actually haven't even watered these because we've been getting decent rain this winter until now. It has been about 2.5 weeks since we've had rain. So I did give these a little water the other day. But every one that I stuck in the pots or in the ground, no matter if it was just one twig or a little bush with 5 or 6 branches, they've all started to leaf out. So we're going to definitely have some interesting rose bushes in the next few months, and I'm kind of eager to see how that will go. I'm not really actually a big rose fan, but what are you going to do when they keep popping up, volunteering from the ground after you've moved a big rose bush? And by the way, the rose bushes I moved did fine in their new locations. So leaving some of that root behind unintentionally didn't hurt them. It's just provided me with all these other plants. And we'll see how these flowers look when they bloom. These are my 2 beds that always produce a ton of that weed, clover weed, what's it? Oxalis, yeah. Which is really pretty when it blooms yellow, but it's horrendous trying to get rid of it. So I always cover these beds if I possibly can, and I did. One of my 2 merit colored bushes. They're actually trees, but I've cut them way down and let them bush out because I like them better this way than I did when they were 6 feet, 7 feet tall. Some pretty purple wallflower. And my pink variegated lemon tree looking great. The story behind that is so amazing. I will link to that video, but I'm really looking forward to seeing if this blooms and sets any fruit this year. I don't expect it to. It's still so young, having come back from almost complete devastation, but it might, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how it grows. Ooh, look at this wallflower. I've forgotten how pretty the varied colors are on this one. Those are just starting to bloom. And there's that purple tree kale. So gorgeous, so delicious, and so amazing. It's over 6.5 feet tall, even though I'm continuously pruning it. And there's tons of it on the ground, branches that have broken off, and yet they're totally alive. I need to get in there and make cuttings and plant those up. So much to do this time of year. And here we have some beautiful Nagami kumquats. The leaves, some of them curled up in the freezing cold, but the tree has survived and these fruits are ripening and they're so good. If you've never had a kumquat, they're quite interesting. The skin is super thin and edible, and it is sweet. The skin is. But the inside of the fruit is tart. So, oh my goodness. It's really cool. If you like oranges and you like lemons, it's kind of like a combination of the two, and you don't have to worry about peeling it because the skin is so thin. And actually, it's the sweet part, like I said, so it's delicious. I never discovered kumquats until a couple years ago. Yeah, what a great find. So this bush is actually in a pot. It started off just one little floret, if you will, like that right there in the center. And now it's got like 50 or more of them. It's huge. And these balls, there are none in bloom right now. This one's a spent one, but they're bright, vivid purple, almost like a globe artichoke color, but much smaller. I don't even remember the name of this plant. I'd have to look it up. I don't even like this plant. The leaves on the bottom of each of these florets, the leaves turn yellow and kind of grody pretty fast, and I find that annoying. But the plant itself just was like, I don't care, we're going to be really healthy and grow super strong and produce lots of blooms and thrive in the winter, and you're not going to be able to get rid of us. You won't have the heart to do it. And it was right, I don't. More Asteospermum, the crimson one. I have so many varieties of this, different colors, because, well, why not? Oh, some oregano I need to cut back. Here's some new growth sending out. Oh, wait, no, that's alyssum. The variety of oregano I have here blooms that color too, but that's alyssum. And a loropetalum with some fuchsia flowers, fringe flowers looking great, leaves not looking so hot, but they're surviving the winter, and it's almost warm, loropetalum, don't worry. Oh, gazanias. Oh, man, these are one of my favorites. I love that burnt orange color. And gazanias come in other colors, too. They also are super hardy, and clearly they spread, because that was a little tiny 2-inch plant when I planted it. Need to prune back my scabiosa. Lots of deadheading there to do. I'm telling you, I have a lot of work out here, like most gardeners do this time of year. But when you're in a mild zone like I am, I feel like you feel guilty for not starting earlier. My freesia is coming up. I feel like I got to get this flower bed in shape before the freesia bloom. Look, there's the flower about to start opening. More gazanias. This is a really pretty color. Kind of a mixture of gold and a light burgundy. And that's rhubarb coming up. And yep, there's some more. Oh, and walking onions. Well, hello. How are you, girls? Are you hinting that you'd like a snack? All right. Look at that gorgeous Swiss chard. The chickens wish they could get to it, that's for sure. Walking onions there next to the Swiss chard. Yeah, Swiss chard really loves the shade and the heat at the same time. But it doesn't so much like being in hot, full sun at 110 all summer. So I planted it in several locations, and it definitely did the best here where it was shaded by the nearby olive trees out in the chicken orchard. Right, ladies? Uh-huh. Everyone appreciates a good snack now and then, huh, girls? This is some kind of crimson honeysuckle or coral honeysuckle. I'll have to look back to find out the exact name. But boy, it's liked this location back here by my noisy ducks. And I see just now that, look at that. Starting to bloom. It's actually in its little pot. I never planted it. See, there it is. I need to take it out and figure out where it's going, but it does like this spot, so I may just have to trellis it along the duck fence above them, though, because they'll eat it if they can reach it, won't ya? Yeah. Dinosaur kale sure is looking healthy. It likes this back shady location too. This is probably the duck's favorite food. I planted a bunch of different kales and collards along this duck fence line. See, this is all merit tree collard, but that I've pruned down to be like a bush. And they like it all right, but their favorite is definitely the dinosaur kale. Whoops, it didn't all make it over the fence. more Merit colored along the fence. And more, and some other kinds of kale, more dinosaur kale, more Merit colored, which it loves to fall over, lie down, and then just spread along the ground like a big bush. Purple tree colored in a container. Thankfully, they're not as big a fan as we are, because we love it. Yes, I know. I'll give you some more dinosaur kale. Just a minute. I cut back my lemongrass. It's all over the place, along with dead tomato cuttings that I need to pick up, and yarn. It tied them up. More lemongrass cut back, and more cherry tomato vines that I need to pick up. Yes, this is what the garden looks like before I have done what I need to do. This is not a garden tour, though. Nope, not a garden tour. These hyacinth bulbs used to be in an orderly row. That's how I planted them. But then the cats and the possums came in and kind of messed them all up. And they're all higgledy-piggledy, as my grandma used to say. But they're starting to bloom, some of them. We'll see. Oh, look. More gazanias. Boy, that's a pretty one, isn't it? Yeah. Asparagus bed is sending up new growth. I need to clean that up too. And also I have some purple asparagus coming that's really heat resistant in the next couple of days that I'm going to plant on the other side of this bed after I move that pot of gazanias and pot of green onions. And those blue pots did have okra in them, but they're empty now. Yeah, so much to do here. This is where my pool was and where I'm going to make a circular garden with sitting area, and next to it right here where the deck was is going to be my greenhouse, which will look over where the duck's pen is. So I'm gonna have a greenhouse here that opens onto a round sitting garden. Meanwhile, I've got all these bulbs coming up, and my strawberry tree in bloom on the bottom. The top blooms seem to have been more affected by the cold, but the bottom ones protected maybe by being lower down and the plant growth around them. Not sure why, but they've kept their blooms despite all the cold and the wind. So they'll be producing fruit over the next year, because it is a year-long cycle with these strawberry trees. I do love that red bark and those pink blossoms though. Anyway, nope, definitely not a garden tour. I'm just kind of wandering around here for a few minutes while my youngest birthday cake is baking. They wanted a marble cake, so that's what they've got. And the timer's about to go off, but it's just so relaxing and beautiful out here. I had to share. You know, when you have a big garden or a big property, the chores are really never ending, and you have to be able to get past that and enjoy the beauty you do have. These first few daffodils as they bloom. Or that crazy big gorgeous white rose. I don't even like white roses, and I have to admit that's pretty spectacular. And I have to enjoy it despite the fact that behind it, that olive tree has a million suckers that need to come off, which our sheep would greatly enjoy eating. So that needs to be on my list, as well as the fence behind it. That's been on my list for a year. We've replaced half the fence, but this half needs to be replaced in the next month or two, and it's going to be, but I can't let it rob me of my joy right now of spring, and I won't. Look at this rosemary in bloom. It's also gone very wild, and I need to prune it back like crazy. Yeah, the jobs in spring and in summer and in fall, they are really unending. But that's like life, isn't it? It's not just with gardening. It's like life. And that's okay. We can take other analogies from gardening. I mean, these purple tree kale hit the ground, and instead of dying, what do? They start sending up upright new growth. They keep trying. They get back up again. My Tico Maria capensis is still doing fabulous. Lots of new healthy growth coming out on it. as well as beautiful deep orange blooms. The Nandina down there is also looking beautiful. And wow, look at this Purple Majesty Laura petalum, totally in bloom in hot pink. Look at all those leaves I need to move. But when I say move, I don't mean throw away. No, those are valuable. All these dead leaves, very valuable mulch. But look what's going on nearby. Look at that. This was a little tiny vine that never bloomed at all until I put a little bit of wire around this lamppost. And I'm gonna actually put some more wire up to the top because, hey, I want more of that. But the rest of the flower garden here, oh, I pruned my Laura petalum and my purple fountain grass and left the piles there. I've got to get them out. And I've got a bunch of pots over there that need, oh, you know, replenishing and enriching, and need to tend to my little flower garden. It's starting to wake up, and there's pruning and replanting and all kinds of stuff to be done, but that's kind of work I enjoy. You know, if you take it slow and you do what you love doing and you really relax into the moment and embrace the moment, then it doesn't feel like work. It feels like sheer joy. So no, not a garden tour, just a little walkabout with me as I relax in these few minutes before I have to go take that cake out of the oven and serve lasagna and cake and ice cream to my youngest, 16 years old. Doesn't seem like it can be that long, but it has been. So wherever you are in the world right now, whatever the weather's like, however much seems to be on your plate, however many jobs you seem to need to do to get things in shape, don't worry. Relax, take your time, enjoy what you're doing, because that's what it's about. That's what life is about, taking your time and enjoying yourself along the journey. It's not about the end goal, although that's always nice. It's about what we do as we make our way there. So as I plant all my new plants and get all my new seeds in their little pots and in the ground, as I design and mark out and lay down the new pathways in my soon-to-be wild lavender garden, as I dig up all of the young 1-year-old now lavender volunteers that seated themselves around this mother plant and spread them all around this whole island. As I do that over the next several weeks, I'm going to be enjoying every step along the way. Look at this Laura petalum. It hasn't enjoyed the winter too much, but look at it. It's doing just fine. Got some pretty maroon leaves, and now the blooming fringe flowers are coming out. They're joining the yellow uriops. Nope, it's not spring yet, but I like to think of it as sort of a pre-spring, and I'm enjoying it. And just a little time outside here, just walking around looking at what's emerging and sort of ignoring, noting but ignoring the work that needs to be done, just enjoying the nature that is. It's enough to really replenish my soul. As I see the fruit trees budding out, little hints of color that I know will soon be emerging into lovely blossoms that will later turn to delicious fruit. Well, it energizes me. Nature does that for us. Free and always available if we just step outside and soak it in. Enjoy this time at your place. You won't get it again. You'll get other great times, you'll get other wonderful experiences with nature, but you'll never get this particular moment again. So I try to remember that and enjoy it despite all the work, because the work never goes away. But neither does the joy, not if we focus on it. So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, and I want you to remember that you can create the life you want. So why not start right now?